Welcome to the Ascend Growth AI podcast, where we mix smart growth moves with a little AI magic. I'm Teresa. Let's dive in. For today's guest, we have Missy Wright, Vice President of Franchise Development at Five Star Franchising. She's known for her strategic approach to scaling high-performing franchise brands and for her sharp eye on what truly sets brands apart in today's crowd. So, Missy, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start by having you share your journey with us.
Yeah, I've been in the franchise world for about 11 years at this point, and I quite honestly just stumbled into it. Out of college, took a job with a clothing company where I was cold calling and designing men's professional wear across Houston, and I hated it. On the weekends, my roommate and I would go to a place called Pino's Palette. We would paint and we would drink wine and just kind of escape. And fast forward, as I'm scrolling through LinkedIn looking for opportunities, I saw a job posting for Pino's Palette in the sales realm, and I thought, I know nothing about franchising. Let's see what we can do. And somehow managed to talk them into hiring me. And so what was neat about this is back when Paint and Sip was really at its peak in popularity, but there was less than 150 units for that brand. And so being able to take that brand from 120 and bring it to north of 250 in 3 years was a great way to get my feet wet, to learn the industry, to learn from some of the best.
So thank you for sharing that. Tell us what Five Star Franchising does.
Five Star Franchising is a platform brand of home service brands. Our goal is to own the home, keep a home in shape, or get it to the house of their dreams. For example, Mosquito Shield is one of our brands, which is a mosquito control company. Our daughter is very allergic, so it's great to have them come in. Pack outs. We have 1-800 pack outs, which is a restoration and storage concept. So let's say there's a small fire in a piece of the home. So the home fills with smoke, fire truck sprays down the house, and all of those contents are ruined, essentially. They need to be taken out, restored, stored while the home gets fixed, and then bringing in those precious memories and items back. And so they're really serving families in difficult times. And we've got another great brand for that too, which is Bio One. This one always has some shock value. It's crime scene and hazard cleanup, but this is once again serving families in their most difficult time, whether that is an unexpected death, it could be a hoarding situation, it could be fentanyl cleanup, it could be a move out situation where somebody just didn't treat the property well. And so they're showing up and serving those families in that capacity so they don't have to clean it up. More fun one as well. Gotcha Covered is one of my favorite. Think blinds and window coverings. We've used Gotcha Covered in our home. It's a fully custom experience. So if you like more of that bespoke side of it, that's a great offering within the community. And then Card My Yard. Think of those as those cute yard signs that say happy birthday, happy retirement. Those franchisees are truly joy bringers in their community. And then lastly, we have Five Star Bath Solutions, which is just a fantastic bathroom renovation side of it. And then we have some service brands too. So ProNexus is a sales center. They help our franchisees grow their revenue through outbound calls and incoming. And Five Star Marketing Service, a marketing agency that assists our franchisees in their content, collateral, and strategy. And then the Five Star Buying Group, making sure that we have the best rates for our franchisees.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize there were so many brands under. And how did they all come together? Were they separate companies and then they all combined?
Mosquito Shield was a customer of ProNexus. When Princeton Private Equity got involved with Five Star and we were able to invest in more brands, it was a great natural partner. Covered, same thing. They were part of the ProNexus grouping and we were able to get familiar with them. We're looking at the right brands. They're almost always individuals. We haven't really launched our own except for what the founders launched on day one. We look for brands that have the right, I would say they fill a need in the home. They're an industry leader, meaning they've got 5-star level service. Their franchisees speak highly of the home office. The home office speak very highly of the leadership team. And then they're in alignment with what we call the 5-star drive. So we are driven, we are real, innovative, vital, and enthusiastic. Their alignment in goals, they serve a natural need in the home and they're a category leader. It's absolutely a brand that we will look at bringing in.
Wow. That's amazing. Do brands usually come to you or do you reach out to them? How does that work?
It's a mixture of both. It's definitely hit lists and things that would, like, for example, I'd love to see a painting franchise, a plumbing franchise. I'd love to see a house cleaning franchise because we definitely use that at this house. If there's a major category that we want, we'll go and start actively vetting, and then we'll also receive a ton of phone calls and start vetting them that way.
Okay. I'm assuming the benefit for the brand is with all that support you mentioned with the marketing and helping with the leads, right? That's amongst other things, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of cost savings when we look at the buying group. They're really there to make sure, do we have the right vendor partners? Do we have the best pricing? And are we holding the vendors accountable? So that immediately is a win for our franchisees. There's also the concept of really being able to have some market efficiencies. If I own let's say, a gotcha covered and a mosquito shield, I already won the customer. So if they love me, I save money from a marketing standpoint on customer acquisition. That's a big win too. And then just being able to have the mastermind groups. All of our brand presidents they're in a peer group. Our VP of operations, they sell. So then Princeton itself actually only invests in franchises. They specialize in supporting franchise brands, specifically service brands. And so being able to have their knowledge base and their wisdom and guidance at our C-suite level, then down to the brand level, puts us in a really great position to be starting it.
Yeah, that's true. And then do you notice that a lot of franchisees go between brands? Do they own multiple franchises within your system?
They absolutely can. I will say there's plenty of our brands that are owner operator. And so that does create a little bit of a challenge where instead of we don't encourage them to differentiate outside of that unless they have the right operational plan. We'd rather see them grow within that brand and replicate that success. But yes, we do have franchisees that I like to cross-pollinate. And it just really depends on the brand and the goal of that individual franchisee.
What geographic areas do you guys cover?
We are all across the US and then into Canada for some of the brands. For example, Mosquito Shield started up in the Northeast. And so we're fairly concentrated there. But I live in Houston and we've got 13 available territories. Okay. And there's over 410 territories for that brand that's already been awarded. They still have tremendous growth. With a brand like Gotcha Covered, we can pretty much go everywhere. There's not a market that we're sold out in. Specifically, we're in Canada. Card My Yard started in Austin, Texas. And so Texas is fairly concentrated, but we can grow in most all markets outside of the state. And we still have some availability in. So just depending on the brand, we target all major national cities just because the population's there, the income's typically there. And we really want to make sure when we're looking at territory, it's viable and it's setting this franchisee up for success.
With all the external things that are happening, rising interest rates, cautious consumer spending, are you noticing an impact to any of your brands?
Honestly, not too much. And I think a big reason of that is figuring out how do you turn this brand into either a want or a need depending on what's going on. Let's look at rising interest rates in the home market. That means people are not moving as often, which means instead of being like, well, I don't like the window treatments, but it's fine because we're going to move, they're investing in the window treatments because they're going to stay. Or you look at when the economy's down and people stop traveling. So instead of going and flying everywhere and having those vacations, they're spending more and more time at home. So the average American right now is spending 9 hours more a week in their backyard space than 3 years ago. Shield is protecting that backyard space to give those family moments back. When COVID hit, my yard thrived because we can't do big birthday gatherings. That's really kept with it because people like the shock value. They like having something unique outside of just a sign for their kids. When you look at brands like BioOne and 1-800-PACK-OUTS, when you just had a family member take their life or you just had a fire, you don't really care what the economy's doing. You're calling, you need that service now. And both of those work within insurance. And we don't see a ton of fluctuation there too, just because the demand is absolutely there, unfortunately.
What other specific market differentiation strategies that you're using at 5-Star to help brands stand out to both franchisees and customers?
Yeah, great question. Our marketing team, 5-Star Marketing, went out and did a lot of data research and really just tried to figure out, are we doing the right messaging? And are we targeting the consumers in the right way? We rolled out a series of commercials for all of our brands early last year. They are hilarious. They stand out. It's like Mosquito Shield is the backyard battle. It's people with tennis rackets and helmets. And it's a super memorable commercial. People get it because why should they be fighting the backyard battle? Like, let Mosquito Shield do it. Or 5 Star Bath Solutions, it's like an older couple who are crouched into this tiny tub and they're pouring water on, and one's got like a bear hat on, and it stands out. But that is what consumers are relating to nowadays. Another
Yes.
big piece of it, when I look at Gotcha Cover, we did not roll out a funny commercial for that because that actually doesn't resonate with that consumer specifically. But that consumer is typically female because that's who's making the design decisions in the house. They have over 150,000 household income. They can spend 5 to 10,000 on blinds. What they care about is a highly bespoke, customized, high touch point service. Because that's another one of those spaces where there's plenty that are out there. So how do you make it different? Well, if you talk to a lot of golfers, one of the questions we always like to ask is, what's more important, the club or the swing? It's the swing. Clubs are just clubs. Product is just product. So how do we maximize and make what's special about us the swing? And that's the support in the training in the experience. That's the piece that's really hard to get. And we create all of our marketing material and we spend a lot of time making sure they understand that from a consumer standpoint too. And we treat each brand individually, but we do have the marketing teams diving in and customizing the approach that we do to the brand.
That sounds really nice. And then I'm assuming that you create that and then each franchisee can leverage it in their own market.
For example, like Gotcha Cover, we actually post on their social medias twice a week. A lot of those messagings that are coming out, they've got the full library. They utilize Canva so they can still have some of that uniqueness to them if that's something they want. In my experience, franchisees don't love marketing. They love the results of it, but the actual act of doing it, they want that taken off their plate. And so yes, we give the full template, the full execution strategy. And honestly, the piece that we can't do for them is the local networking, what we call ANET marketing. We give them all the tools so they can focus on what typically gives them the ROI and the more return in referral-based customers.
Right. That makes sense. How about AI? Are you using AI right now?
Yes, I am like new to the AI game. It makes me feel way older than I am because I should have been on the train like a year ago. ChatGPT is a big thing, and I love it with my team. If we're struggling through a candidate scenario, being able to just give us a couple fresh perspectives, or we were just at a conference and we had to do a pitch that was a role play scenario, being able to write that's been huge. We're also, I think, taking it and doing recordings of different calls, being able to use AI to score that and give tangible results back to team members. You could do the same thing from a consumer as well. There's some really good bot callers out there too. I will say we love the highly personalized side of having a true person talking. Yep. It's great when we're looking through old dead leads as far as that goes, but we do try to keep as much of the personality of the people inside of it. Yeah. So we use it to cause a lot of efficiencies for us versus replacement of actual people.
That makes sense. Yeah, the sales chatbots really sound human. It's amazing, but I agree with you. A real human really makes a difference sometimes.
And especially as you were sharing, when you just purchased your first franchise, anytime there's change, that can be scary. And so I find that the best directors are the ones that get in and connect on that human level. And if they use ChatGPT to write the follow-up email, awesome. A lot of call notes coming in from Zoom. It's great to be able to copy and paste those, but you're not going to hear about their dog who's at the vet. That has nothing to do with the business, but it matters to the person. And so being able to have those conversations, that's a little bit harder to thought.
How about what's working well for you in 5-star franchising right now? What are you proud of?
I think one of the things I'm most proud of is this last year, when I started, I was selling and leading. And that was great to get to learn the brands, but that's not necessarily always where the passion is. The passion is really watching it click for my team. And so this year I've pulled completely out of selling, and I got to roll out monthly trainings, quarterly book clubs, do ride-alongs, do coaching. And so I think if I had to boil it down to even to just one more moment within there, we brought on a director with no experience in the industry. And he closed his first deal, which I would expect that from a seasoned person, but from somebody who never picked up an SDD and read through that, to watch everything and knowing financially what that does for his family, knowing the financial what it's going to do for that candidate and their community, for their family, that's the piece that makes me super proud, both as a leader but also within the franchise space.
Yeah, I mean, you're making a lasting impact to people's lives, so that's really nice. What about on the flip side, what's been frustrating?
I'm very type A. So anytime that there is an idea, I'm like, here's the plan. We're going to execute it. And you can get that done like tomorrow, right? That is not the reality. I'm very aware within my personality that if I want to go fast, I can go by myself. But if we're going to go far, we're going to have to go as a group. Managing patience and timeline within those are probably the pieces that get the most frustrating for me. But other than that, one of the reasons I've been around in the industry so long is I genuinely love the chaos. I love the challenge. I love the accountability. I love that there's always something to learn. So that's naturally going to come with a little bit of frustration when it's not moving at the speed I want it to. But it's kind of part of the beautiful chaos that it takes to run multiple brands.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm a type A as well, so I definitely understand what you just said. As a leader, what metrics do you look at on a weekly or monthly basis?
So I'm in the metrics daily. You cannot measure them daily, but looking at the tracking, I'm looking at how many leads do we have coming in? How many of those are we contacting? How many of those are we doing the qualification on? And then from there, that's all at the top of the funnels. From there, I'm looking at how many of those are making it past the vision phase, the grind phase, and how many of them are making it past vision building. Meaning, are we doing a good enough job on building a vision for the concept? And then how many make it to our meet the team day? So that means they've successfully completed the grind. And then how many people have purchased and made it successfully through the eighth side of it? Because that all speaks to how long does that take? So there's their effectiveness and then their efficiencies of how short can we make that triangle or tall. Those are the main KPIs that I'm looking at tracking for my team. It's conversion rate.
I remember when I was looking at French, it was like a 6 to 8 week interview process, right? Before I was even invited to Discovery Day. Is that kind of your cycle as well?
Ours is a little bit quicker. So typical discovery process should be about 30 to 90 days all in. And that includes meet the team day, includes making the final decision. I will say all of our processes are done virtually, a lot of Zoom, and even our meet the team day. We don't have the issue of like flights and stuff. It should absolutely feel like an interview. I always say the discovery process is a lot like dating. Buying the business is like marriage. We need to make sure it's a mutual fit. No one wants to be sold anything in any industry. If they're not taking the time to learn about you and your goals, and sometimes even challenge you on different things, then they're also not serving you well, because that means that they're not doing their due diligence on your candidacy. But yeah, that's our typical, I would say on average, I think we're sitting at like 68 days, if I wanted to be specific.
Yeah, and then I guess you mentioned the top of the funnel with leads. How do you guys find leads right now? Is it people reaching out to you, or are you reaching out to other people? Like, how does that work?
It's a healthy mix of that. I will say we do work with the broker and the consultant networks in the industry. The conference we were just at last week in Orlando, we were pitching. We've got 4 more conferences this year. And so having those strong relationships, making sure they're educated on the brand, educated on who we look for, helps make that part of it efficient. And then our website side of it, so the organic part, and that is people reaching out to us, and then paid leads. And so that is looking at portals, that's looking at Facebook. Different brands respond to different things. We actually have an internal 5-star friends referral program. So franchisees can refer friends into the brands, and there's a commission that's paid to them should that person move forward. And so we love broker leads and referrals. They typically close at the highest rate, and they come in a lot more educated. That's our normal spread.
Okay. That's a lot of ways to get leads. That's good. Where do you want to be 6 to 12 months?
I would have loved for the brands to break budget 25 days ago, but really, if I look at the end of the year, we're just a little over halfway. I'd love to be sitting 25% over budget of what we needed to be for the year. I'd have a fully staffed team now working on how do we drive their effectiveness and efficiencies versus individual coaching. Most of my team is all been here less than a year. So they're still learning, and there's still an opportunity, making sure that they are fully in alignment. And then I would say too that they've had a great relationship with the leadership of each of the brands they serve. I never want to be the bottleneck. It's so when somebody's newer, they're always going to come to me, and that's great. But knowing that they feel empowered to grab it.
What would you tell your younger self if you were to start over and do things differently?
Ooh, I like that question. I would say just remember that life is a marathon and not a sprint. And I think taking risks sooner. Patience is definitely a virtue, and I've had to practice that, but I think having a healthy balance of I can take on more while also understanding it's okay to sit back and enjoy it and soak in what you can in the moment. I even have to practice this with my kids because I'm so focused on what's next and wanting to just enjoy the toddler years. And so I think the same would apply within the career is enjoy where you're at, but don't be afraid to push for more along the way.
What tips would you give to those who want to aspire to be a leader in a franchise one day?
Ask a million questions and keep asking. You will learn from the mentors that I've had, the people who have poured wisdom, people who have held me accountable when I am not doing what I am supposed to be doing. And just see feedback as a gift, actively seek it out. It's practice. Practice means you're never going to reach a level of perfection, which is a healthy spot to be because progress is really the goal. And I think just having humility within that is huge. There's a lot of people at the top who will tell you just how good they are, not realizing there's a bunch of people nipping at their heels. Where growth stops, decay sets in. And so you have to be curious, you have to ask questions and just really chasing excellence from and knowing it can come from wherever.
I'm new in the space in the sector, right? And I've been really impressed with how many people are willing to talk and just share their stories. It's been really nice. And if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
LinkedIn's always great. It's also a great place to hear about 5-star because we are constantly on there. But otherwise, email is always great. mwright@5starfranchising.com.
Well, thank you so much, Missy. I really enjoyed our conversation today and having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you got value, share it, tag us, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Catch you next time on the Ascend Growth AI podcast.